Hello. Today I want to tell you about another interesting environment in CATIA called Sketch Tracer. And although I mentioned it a little bit in my previous videos on surface generation in CATIA, but I want to show you an example of this with detail so you exactly see how I'm going to use this. And this environment is really good, especially if you are trying to model an existing component for which there is no CAD file. Okay, so you have a component or something, let's say at home, something is broken, and you want to basically create a model for it and 3D print it and let's say do a repair or something. And this environment is going to be really, really useful because for many objects, they are typically thin objects or their 2D profile will stay relatively constant or at the specific draft angles along the third dimension. So for many of these objects, doing the repair is going to be as simple as drawing the outline of the part in a CAD environment and then creating an extrude with some thickness and then printing it, right? So this sketch tracer environment can be really good. And here I can show you an example of, let's say you are an ERAU student and you like your school, and so you want to make yourself, let's say, a keychain or something using the ERAU Eagle, right? So how can you design the CAD model for this? Well, I don't think if you go around, you can find the CAD model of ERAU Eagle, but I bet if you do a simple Google search for images, you can find ERAU logo easily. And now all you need to do is to right click and then say what? Save image. That's all you need. Just make sure this image is a type of image that CATIA can read. And here it is a GIF image, and you have to make sure whether CATIA can read it. I'm not sure if it can do GIF. It can do .png and .jpeg. So what I'll do, I probably copy the image and then go to Paint and save it in Paint. So now I can save it as ERAU Eagle, correct? And it is going to be a ping, a JPEG, or whatever picture that I want. I save it. If I want, I can trim it to only include the parts that I like, right? So maybe I don't want to use all of this white space in my picture, so I'm going to trim it in Paint before bringing it into CATIA. Good. So now I go into CATIA and then I go to Start and then I go to Shape and then Sketch Tracer. And here is where you can import an image, put it in the background, and then try to what? Try to trace the outline of it, correct? So let me show you how. Okay, so here you are going to click on this Create an Immersive Sketch. You click here and it allows you to go and get your image. So here we go, get it. Now here you see the axes are not exactly the way I want. I want this picture to be on the background plane, like a front plane. So I want these axes to be, two of them to be aligned X and Y, and this one perpendicular to the plane. Right now it is not. So I go to the views and first make sure I'm seeing it in the front view. So I align the axes and make sure the shading is shading with material, not shading with edges or without edges. It should be shading with material, this guy. And then before I do OK, I make sure I put my origin and I extend my axis such that basically this window in green that you can see using dash lines will contain my entire sketch like that. And now that I'm good, I say OK. right? So I added this picture to my background. Now I have to create a sketch on the top of this, and that's where I go to insert a new part, and then I click on this product to get my part. Now I go open it and I choose one of the planes. In this case, you have to go with YZ plane. So you double click on this plane, and now you can go to start mechanical design and then sketcher. There we go. Now you're ready in the sketcher to create your sketch on the top of this picture. And all you need is to use the SP-line tool, right? So you go to the SP-line tool and you try to trace it. If snap to point is on, make sure you turn it off so that you can click on any point that you want. It is typically in the sketch toolbox, and right now I don't see it, so I can go to customize and then toolbars and restore position. Just want to make sure I show you that. And that's this guy. Okay, make sure this is off. If it's on like this orange, you can only click on the grid point, so make sure you turn this guy off. And now you can click anywhere you want, and so you start clicking on the boundaries of this picture, right? And keep going like that. And if any of this is not a perfect match, you can just grab that control point, right, and try to make the match better. So like here, for example, I can grab this control point and I can try to make a better match, right? Or I can insert more control points, right? You all know that when you click on an SP-line, then you can what? Add a control point. So here we go. I can add a control point here, or if I want something here, again, I right click SP-line, then add a control point, and I can add it, for example, here, and then I can move this guy a little bit here. So by adding more control points, you can make it smoother. And not a smoother, but a better match to the background picture. Now, whenever you reach a sharp point, my suggestion is this: do not continue with the previous SP-line. Try to go to a new SP-line. So turn off your SP-line command and turn it on again and continue with the new SP-line, because SP-lines are supposed to be smooth functions and the derivatives exist at any point. If you have a sharp point where the derivative does not exist, it's not a good idea to continue with the same SP-line. If you do, then instead of having this sharp corner, you're going to have a round corner at that point, and that's probably not what you want. So my suggestion is make sure that you start a new SP-line anytime you go to a sharp corner, right? So now I can continue. And feel free to use as many points as you want. You see here, again, I'm down to a sharp point. So I double click and finish the command and then start it again, right? Finish the SP-line and start again. And here we go. I try to start another one, stop, and then keep going, right? So using that, I can create the boundaries of this sketch. And when I'm done, correct, all I can do is, if I don't want that sketch anymore, I can go to this painting gallery, this picture, and then what? I can either hide it or delete it. And guess what? I only have the sketch that I wanted, and now I can extrude this sketch. And here, to save time, I'm not going to go through all of that boundary because it takes some time, but I open what I did with it, and that is this guy here that I made. And this is really good, especially if you show it with material. I applied gold to it, and you clearly can see I made a perfect replica of our eagle, correct? So I got our eagle. And now if you want, you can, what? Draw a ring around it and add some, basically, chain and make it your own keychain, right? So you just go to this surface, go back to part design, right? Select that surface, go to sketch, and draw an ellipse or a circle. If you can fit a circle, that's perfect. If you cannot, then maybe you want to go with an ellipse or something, as long as you can make it touch these areas, right? So maybe something like this is touching it all. And then if you want, you can create offsets from this guy, and let me show you an offset. So here you go down, and then you go here and try to do scale or offset. So here I can do an offset of this, maybe one here, and then I do another offset of this, maybe one here. And then if I want, I can convert this to a construction element if I don't want it directly. So no, actually it's here. So there we go. Now I got my ring, and this ring is touching at least 3 points on this guy, and now all I need is to extrude it as much as I extruded this guy, and this guy I extruded for 0.2 inches, so I can go and extrude also this guy for 0.2 inches. There we go, right? If you can see now, the only thing it gone the wrong direction, so I go back and reverse the direction so it can merge them together, and there we go. I got myself this ring around it, and the next thing I want to do is to get some chain, and I can make a chain, or I can download the chain and assemble it to this one, and there we go. I got my own ERAU Eagle keychain, correct? So, and you know, there are too many websites out there for downloading files that are already available. So if you don't want to make a chain, you can simply go to Thingiverse or go to GrabCAD and just look for a chain, right? If there is something that is already available, don't bother creating one and spending your time, okay? So you see here, or if you don't want it, you can make a hole on the top of it and just add a ring and let people add their key. So maybe this is a better idea. Maybe I do not even need a chain, right? So maybe I can go back here and, for example, go back and make this ring a little bit thicker. I'm not sure if that's thick enough. So let me zoom into area. So each one of them is about point, so let me make it 0.25, and the same thing for this one. Okay, and let me zoom out, make sure it's not taking lots of the wings. Now it's good. So here we go. I got this one, and now I can go on this surface again, and as I said, I can add an element where, for example, I can start here with some, and I can turn snap to point on in this case, and let's say I go from here to here. Right now it was a little bit small, but I can always make it bigger. I just need to grab this guy and make it larger. Just make sure it is about the center. And now you can go and grab your 3-point arc and go from here to here, make it 180. Then you can get rid of this, right? So now you got yourself some relatively good shape of hook placement, and if you want, you can also see if the center of this circle is right above the center of the other circle, right? So for example, if you want, you can go with the 3-point circle and try to click on 3 points of this circle. You see here, I'm moving on the boundary. You see the double circle appearing. So I go here, here, and then maybe here, right? So now you see this. And if I want, as I said, I can make this a construction element because I'm not gonna use it directly, but I need the circle of it. And if you want, you can make this construction element fixed, okay? So it does not move. So if you double click on it, you see it's a construction element. And as I said, if you go here, you can make it fixed so it doesn't move anymore. And now if you want, you can make sure that the center of this guy and the center of this one are vertically aligned, okay? So as long as you can make them vertically aligned like this, right? You just saw that. And here you just need to make sure that these two are also equal in size. They're vertical. If it allows you to apply equal, do it. Otherwise, you can just say, let's say 0.75, and that one also 0.75. And then maybe you want to provide an offset from here to here. Let's say 4.2 or 4. Yes, correct. And now these are good. You can make sure this is also tangent. So you see here is redundant because I made these two already what? Equal, and one of them is tangent, the other one should be tangent. So this is good to go. And if I want, now I can add a circle here at this center. Make sure it's not a construction element because we want to use it for the hole. Give it some diameter. I'll go with half, and this is good now. So all I need is to extrude this with 0.2 backwards. So now it is all one object. And there, guess what? You got yourself your EREU keychain. Just export it as an STL file, right? So go to STL file and make sure the resolution of your STL is enough. So for that, you have to go under Tools and Options, okay? If the STL file that you are creating is not having enough of vertices and the resolution of that is low, then of course your print is going to be a rough print, right? So I always recommend you have enough of resolution. Here you clearly can see, if you look a little bit better, let me show you. I changed the resolution here to low, and if you look, you clearly see instead of circle here, it's never gonna be a perfect circle, but it's always a polygon, but the number of sides on this polygon around it is rather small, and you can see it is actually, you see all of these sharp corners on the circle. And you can even make it worse if you want. You go to Tools, Options, under General Display, you can change the 2D and 3D accuracy, right? So these numbers go anywhere from 0.01 to 10. So if I make this 5 and 5, now maybe that's too much, 3 and 3, now you are going to get, maybe that is still too much. You are going to get some rough shape, and you can clearly see that here, right? If you look at the circle, it is not going to be a good circle, and if you export it as STL, it's not going to be a good STL. Of course, it's going to be a smaller STL file, but quite rough for printing. So I would say you make sure here you use a very small number. I would go with 0.02 or 0.01. The default is 0.02. Make sure they are very, very good and close to a circle. Now, if you see, it's a much smoother, nicer file. And now I can go to File and save it as an STL file and call it EREU Eagle Keychain. There we go. I save it, and now I can go back here, and these are some samples I made. So this is the rough STL file, and this is the high resolution STL file, and you clearly see the difference between them. So when you print it, this is not going to be as good as the one on the bottom. So here all you need is just, as you know, import that file and make sure the scaling is correct and lay it flat, and guess what? You are ready to make your first keychain, correct? Just give it some proper amount of infill and shell, and boom. In about 46 minutes from now, you can have your first EREU keychain. And if you put your printer at high speed, it can even make it about 30 minutes or so. So when I make one of these, I'll show you. Thank you so much for your attention.